Good morning and welcome to another week. It's Louisa Munson from the Barefoot Broadcast, welcoming you to another week of mayhem and chaos and hopefully very rich discussions. I've got three amazing topics this week. Today is the first of, a really exciting week with some of my favorite guests. That's unfair to say because obviously I love everyone that comes on the show. Today I've got Rosanna Louisa, who's been on before quite a few times, and we're going to be talking about the law of attraction. Like, oh my God, I tried the law of attraction and it didn't work for me, when spirituality goes bad. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the law of attraction. Have you used the law of attraction and did it work for you? Have you had mixed results? And, what are your thoughts about what caused a great outcome versus a bad outcome? Because I think this is a massive subject. And I think as Rosanna and I get talking about it, I think we'll realize there's a lot of guilt and shaming that goes into it. And also probably quite a bit of gaslighting. Anyway, on Wednesday, I've got Felix joining me again, and he's going to be talking, or we're going to be talking about creating an etheric blueprint, or the idea that you might have an energetic blueprint and how you can have a bit of fun with it and kind of recreate your life. So it's going to be quite an exploratory session. And then on Thursday, I'm joined by both Donna and Jenny, and we're going to be talking about what happens when you find out your life was a lie and how you come to terms with it. Like, how do you move on when you realize that a vast part of your life was a massive porky pie? So I think it's going to be good. We've got quite a few people watching. Please do say hello in the chat room. That would be awesome. Right now, I can see we've got Portugal Life Extras. Good morning, beautiful soul and person outside as well. Who is that? Oh my goodness, I recognize the picture. It's my good friend Veronica. How are you? Have you changed your name? Anyway, welcome. It's nice to have you here. How are you doing? So anyway, let's bring Rosanna on right now with a beautiful and cheesy round of applause. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I've just come out of an upgrade, a spiritual upgrade. So I'm like a little bit, like when you're physically tired from it, but I'm also feeling inwardly empowered. So yeah, wow, this would be interesting today because literally had it on Saturday, was recovering yesterday. And so I don't know. I've completely changed my opinion about what I thought I would say today. Exciting.
That is exciting. And it's like on the edge of your seat broadcasting, isn't it? Where we don't know what the next word out of our mouth is going to be. Before we get going, I want to ask, how do you know you're just spiritual upgrade? Because like Carl and I on Saturday morning, I think we sat outside our house with a coffee in hand going, oh my God, I'm so tired. And then we had a really early night on Saturday night. We were both in bed by 9. In fact, we left the kids downstairs and we said, come up when you're ready. We locked all the doors to safe. And they came up, woke us up. And so we were good parents eventually, but we just needed to rest. And then on Sunday morning, like having a great night's sleep, we got out of bed, sat down, went, oh my God, does everyone feel this tired? Like, are we having continuous spiritual upgrades? Like, what defines it for you? How did you know that's what was going on for you?
For me, it's more than tiredness. So it's accompanied by various physical symptoms. I'm currently undergoing, because I've had, this is my second. I thought there would just be a one-shot wonder with this, but apparently not. So what it is it's a crystalline DNA upgrade. I muscle test everything. So I get like an intuitive download. And then I'm like, I should muscle test that, because I'm not one of these where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm psychic, I know everything. No. Sometimes it's just something I ate, right? So I'm like, all right, let me muscle test it. Yeah. Because I had my suspicions, but the symptoms that I was having or undergoing were at this time around really intense. I've had it before for 3 weeks, and this was like condensed into 24 hours. Wow. but that is because I took authority over it, because I thought, I'm not having it for 3 weeks. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm kind of telling a long story when I should be telling an abridged version.
Right.
So the abridged version of the symptoms, basically, sort of, it's very similar to the kind of sensations that you get when you have like flu, but I didn't have the cold symptoms, so didn't have the runny nose and all of that. It's like the physical aspects of flu. So like really cold, but without the fever. I wasn't having a fever, so it was just really cold, couldn't get warm. Heating was on like 35, still not warm, and blankets and loads of layers, and still it was like the veins in my body were running cold water. It was weird. And then it's almost like a cold pain that you get, and a real weakness in the limbs. This isn't just tiredness. This is like, I can barely lift myself up off the bed. Like I was like, trying to get up to go to the toilet. Extreme intermittent breathlessness. And this wasn't, like when you get a virus, there's a slow build up. No, this is just
I don't know.
Bang.
Like viruses always like when I have the symptoms of a virus, it hits me just like that.
Oh, does it? Well, with me, it's usually like a slow build up, at least over like 24 hours.
Yeah.
But this was bang, you're in it, and then it ramped up from there. Wow. At one point I felt I actually couldn't breathe, but there was nothing stopping me breathing. I didn't feel like my sinuses were blocked or anything. It was very, very odd. Just extreme hunger for anything liquid and fruit. I was like, I was literally like that with the watermelon, mango, pineapple. I could not get it down quick enough. Whereas normally, if I've got a virus, then I'm lackluster about food. I can't be bothered. I don't think about it. I was like, I need this. It was almost like my intuitive guidance was telling me, this is how you recalibrate. And I went through this around about March, and it took 3 weeks, and I've got so much on and so much responsibility now compared to then. I was like, oh no way. So I took authority, and I was like, this has to be done within 24 hours. I don't care how bad it gets, but it needs to be done.
I love how you mentioned taking authority, because I sometimes follow the work of Marissa Peer, the hypnotherapist, and she talks about being very, very straight with your body and having a very straight conversation, saying, look, I direct, I instruct, I command, I code, I compel this to be done in a week or a day or whatever you need. Like she talks about people going through menopause within a month rather than a gazillion years, which sounds great. But thank you for that. That's probably quite helpful for people. I just want to welcome a couple of people, and then let's talk about the amazing subject of the law of attraction. Cool. So Veronica's just saying, this is my other channel. Nope, just a little account test for unedited things. Oh, isn't that clever to have one of those? Owen is saying, hello, everyone. Good morning, Owen. I hope you're enjoying your travels. I wonder where you are today. Fam for Life, good morning. Domestic Witch, is this one of your friends?
Kaylee, hi.
Hi, Kaylee. Thanks for joining us. We've also got my husband upstairs. I think the world, Western Civ, is exhausted. I'm feeling a kind of bone weariness right now. And my eyes. I almost had to like go
matchstick time.
I rarely feel like that. So this is a really great topic, and you gave me this topic yesterday. What was it that made you think, ooh, that law of attraction? Let's give this one a go.
Well, working with people like I do, I often come across somebody who is, has been through an experience where they've gotten to the point where like, oh, I tried it, it didn't work. And so I felt it was really quite an important topic that you and I could open up and kind of bring to the attention and find out what other people are going through, and that they don't need to feel alone when it feels like it's not working. Most of the time when I've come across people like that, they've completely given up and they're not interested. and they don't even want to try anymore. And from my own experience, many years ago, probably about 10 years ago now, I started doing business networking in my city. And I came across a wonderful group. It was totally about women and for women, which, was a really lovely space to be in. And also because my clientele tends to be female, I thought, well, that's a really great business move for me. Let me get involved. Yeah. And I met somebody there who was a marketing individual who helped people with their marketing. And we got quite pally, and I started going through a really difficult time, as I have been prone to do as a starseed in my life. And she knew me to be someone very spiritual and who worked with the law of attraction and does vision boards and things like that. And she said some quite negative comments to me when I was in quite a vulnerable state of sharing, and I thought, I love you, but that's actually really unhelpful. So yeah, I thought tag on that when spirituality goes bad, because there can be a lot of blaming and shaming and people potentially looking on you and your life and going, oh, well, you haven't got it all together, perhaps you're not spiritual enough, so I felt it was a really important question to unpack.
I've definitely come across that a lot before. It's almost like a gaslighting, like if you follow these instructions, this will happen. And that's clearly not the case. There's so much more to that than meets the eye. So when how do you want to sort of like talk about the law of attraction? Like if you were to put it into like a few key points for people that aren't really aware of what it is, how would you describe it?
Okay, so let's simplify it by saying you can all know, if you're new to this, that the law of attraction exists because you know that when you think bad thoughts, bad things happen. You can look back on your life, right? And you can go, oh, I've always thought negative things. I've always, feared. I've always doubted, and voila, right? We're all very good at manifesting the negative, right? And it's not a question of does the law of attraction exist? It's a question of look out on the world and see what's going on. The law of attraction is a principal law of the universe, as far as I'm concerned, and you can see it at play out there. It's like the nocebo and the placebo effect. So if you go to a doctor and the doctor says to you, knows you have cancer, and says to you, oh, you've got 6 months to live, and you fully believe in that, and you buy into it, it has been proven that those who have had that experience where they've been given that finite information of this will be the day that you die. My ADD brain is singing a song now. This will be the day that you die, right? So then you believe that, you buy into it, and to the date, people have been registered as dying on those dates. And the opposite is true, so if you're those who have been misdiagnosed and told that they hadn't had cancer because their scans or whatever were mixed up with someone else, but yet they did, and it was later found out that they did, got better or improved. So, there are examples out in the world that this is the kind of reality that we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what you think about, you bring about. Wherever you're setting your attention with some passion and focus. Like you're right. I mean, some people do have a passion for fear, don't they? They seem to have a listening for fear. Like fear excites them. And not necessarily a sort of good excitement, but it's what they preoccupy themselves with. And I've been there myself. I've been quite a fearful person. And all that really happens is my life gets infinitely shitter very quickly, and that part of me that is expecting fear to show up is delighted because it's got its confirmation bias.
So I've been proved right.
Like the part of me that wants my life to go really badly because that's what I believe I deserve, or that is going to happen, and I've called it, and this is what's going to happen. It, lo and behold, it soon, it's like a crash course in shittery. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of new words and verbs for the sort of action of kind of making your life go bad through your thinking. And I don't think people are necessarily aware of the power of their thoughts. I know I've got a lovely fly coming to give me a message, but I know they talk about mindfulness in some schools now, but very few people have been taught to mind their thoughts. And conversely, I'm actually quite an optimist, and so actually most of my life has gone quite well. But the areas where it hasn't gone well is usually where I've suffered a slight setback or a series of setbacks, and I've got into a kind of program that this isn't going to happen, this isn't going to happen. And I want to pass it back to you, because I could go on about my experiences of attraction for about 5 hours or so.
Which are very valid, and I want to hear them.
No, but you know what I mean? Like about mindset. I mean, you must have, like, I recognize that some things come ridiculously easy to me, and then some things are really tough. And they're my biggest challenges. And they're the ones where I've had real negative beliefs, usually about myself and what I deserve.
Yeah. I think absolutely. I think it's so much easier to manifest something negative in our lives as opposed to positive.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's because experience and the mindset programming that we have dictates that to us. Most of us become, slightly broken as we grow up, especially in childhood. And when I say broken, I don't mean that as a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing, but that's for another day. So I don't see that as a negative whatsoever. But also I think it's I want to go back a little bit, because I just want to make a point about people realizing that the law of attraction does exist. And then I'm going to move on to a greater context of it that I think we also need to put it into context, is that there are many principal laws. But I think predominantly it's you can see in the moment that the law of attraction exists. So I want to go back to what I was saying, as you've only got to look into your life and see your past to see it exists. Yes, true, but also in the moment. So one of the things that I teach is that what is true of the micro is true of the macro.
Yeah.
Okay. So the little minute stuff.
Yeah.
The sacred geometry, right? So little minute stuff, if it's true, if it's a principal law, it will be true on a minute level, and it will be true on a massive scale.
Yeah.
So if we look at ourselves in the moment, okay, and we decide to think a negative thought just momentarily, okay. By the way, law of attraction does take a little while to get into effect, so we're not going to cause massive issues momentarily.
A really good thing, because like just a little example. Ages ago, our at that time, I think 3-year-old son became really, really agitated about something, and he said, "Oh my God, I am going to destroy this whole universe." And Carl and I looked at each other and said, "Oh, thank goodness the law of attraction takes ages to come into effect, and also works on a cumulative desire." Like, in that moment, he wanted to wipe out everything in existence because he didn't know how to manage his emotions. And of course, 5 minutes later, he was actually fine again. But
don't you love 3-year-olds?
He's got an absolute taste for drama, for sure. And I have to give him like 10 out of 10 for the way he expresses himself. I mean, that guy could be a writer in years to come, or a filmmaker. But like, we would have to have everybody on the planet wanting to massively do something instantly, and for it, for anything like that to occur, I think, like
and they'd all have to be master manifestors.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean that's a really good example why it doesn't work straight away.
And so people haven't got the patience, have they? So that's another reason why
3-year-olds
might give up.
And I'm like 48, and I'm not that patient either. So
well, you're Sagittarius, comes with territory. Um, interestingly, the card that relates to Sagittarius in the tarot deck is Temperance. I find that so hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I would have thought something like the Chariot or
Yeah, it's
or
very
Devil.
incongruent. Anyway, so right back to the micro and the macro and how we can see it instantaneously start to gain muscle within ourselves when we do it. So, you know, I'm going to invite the audience to do this as well. Choose your thing, choose your negative thought, right? Right now, and think it and feel it and allow it to transform your physiology, right? Just as if it would naturally, because what you find when you think a negative thought, your shoulders slump, you know, your muscles in your face might start to droop. There are things that you can physically detect in a person when they're feeling negatively. Now, let's do the reverse, right?
So I already was.
You know, let's sit up straight, shoulders back, smile on your face, and you can feel it already. Now, if we create our reality, yes,
your shoulders go back, your whole heart is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can see it from a kind of like social, scientific aspect as well. If you're going out into the world and you have your shoulders slumped and, you know, you're looking down and, you know, you're not saying hello to anyone, you're going to be manifesting negative things in your life from a law of attraction point of view, but also from a realism point of view. How are people going to be responding to that? Yeah. Whereas if you're stood up straight, if you're smiling, if you're confident, if you're, you know, doing healing work that makes your energy and your aura feel light, even if people don't know it exists, there are people who walk in a room and automatically light up a room, you know, that's in our English language, isn't it? Oh, she lit up a room. You know, that's somebody who's doing the work, you know, they're doing their healing, they're facing their demons, they're, you know, breaking down their traumas. And so the more that we do that work, the better we manifest as well, because we're not just manifesting with a conscious mind or our physical body and the way that we stand and whether or not we're smiling. We're also doing it with our subconscious mind. You know, you and I both know we've trained in hypnotherapy, right? How easily you can make a tweak and then life improves, like you were saying, Marissa Peer. So yeah, if we can harness that subconscious mind and change our mindset programming and our core values and beliefs are more in alignment with our true, innate, authentic self that we were born to be, rather than the one that we've been programmed by society and culture and even family and friends to be, when it's in true alignment. And when I say alignment, when it feels good to you. Right? Not doing the things that you think you ought to be. It's not about trying to manifest something because mummy and daddy would be proud of me if I became a doctor or a teacher. No, it's rarely going to gain enough momentum to happen unless you're putting in an exorbitant amount of hard work into it. And it's likely to do that because it's going against the grain if it's not something that you innately want for yourself, because then you're going to end up with incongruent, opposing mindset forces, right? There's the innate you, and then there's the one that you were programmed to be, and then they're in this battle, and that's when you get nowhere. So that's another reason why sometimes people try and they do them vision boards and etc. They decide what they want and they never get there, because on an innate level, can't speak today, that's not what they want.
Yeah, if I may, I just want to, I love what you're sharing. And I don't know if you noticed, we've actually just changed our office around. So I'm actually sat on a high chair and I'm used to making notes. I'm having to stoop down a little bit to reach the table, write notes. But there was a flurry of notes coming out of me then of things I wanted to mention. But before I go there, I want to just bring in some of the people, because we've got Dougie Hughes here, who's joining us saying, hola, y'all. Even though he doesn't talk like that at all. He actually sounds a bit like Windsor Davis. He's from Wales. He's sharing positivity helped me for sure. Here I am in Portugal just 6 months after an injury. When he says injury, what he means is a near fatal like injury. He was really, really, really poorly. He said, I was told 12 months. So it took him 12 months to recover. And 6 months later, Dougie's back in Portugal. He's a sort of can-do person, and I really
I love that.
makes a difference. We've got Sarah Clark joining us saying, "Good morning, ladies." Sorry, I don't know if actually you said that with a high-pitched tone, but that's how I imagine it. I have definitely found prayer and manifesting is extremely powerful since I've changed my mindset and working with Rosanna. That's beautiful, and well done you, Rosanna. Where to now? Veronica's saying, I like to go to bed early at 5 p.m. on Saturday and early last night. Are you feeling better for it? Oh my God, totally correct. I'm afraid to say anything bad and ask people not to say things bad around me, because good or bad, if we say something out loud, it tends to happens more with some friends. I understand that. And that really, oh, hello. I'm actually doing a show. Do you want to come up and say hello?
Hello. Who's that?
This is the youngest member of our team. Hang on.
Come and say hello. Oh, hello. What's your name?
He can't hear you. Rosanna's asking, what's your name?
So, the three
So.
letters, I don't know how much letters there.
He's saying his name, Sir Otler, but he can actually spell his name. He's just being humble. He's busting in. He wants a peanut butter sandwich. That guy just loves peanut butter. Yeah, so don't have control of what happens as it seems random, so no bad words. Yeah, I really get that. And actually, it was one of the points that I wrote down. You were talking about being in alignment, Rosanna, and I recognize, and talking about family and friends, and I recognize there's been a few times when I've left family situations or needed to move from country to country or place to place or leave a business because it just feels completely out of alignment with who I am. And I think that's a really bold move to make. And yet so many of us make it. I think people who actively take control of their environment, i.e. leave an environment that they know they have no control over and find themselves in the company of like-minded people, are pretty smart. And I think things work quite well for them quite quickly. And things speed up usually after we make a bold decision. Like in the past, when you were talking about your move to Brighton, and how your life changed, all of a sudden it started to, sometimes we need to literally take our situation and move it somewhere else. I got that from what Veronica was saying as well.
I think listening to our intuitive guidance when it starts to come through, and I do believe everybody has the potential to have that. So if you don't at the moment, just know it's buried under a load of shit. Once you start doing the work, you're going to unravel it and it'll be fine. But everybody has. Right. And I think, it's not a one-prong play, this manifesting malarkey, right? There's several things involved. There's a big context, and definitely one of those is actually following what feels good. Like, weighing it up. What would feel better to me? Staying in London or moving to Brighton? And closing your eyes and feeling the weight of each one and going with the one that makes you feel lighter. That's why you'll find master manifestors are following their joy. They're following their bliss, right? Because when we follow our joy, when we follow our bliss, our vibration elevates and the universe responds to our vibration.
Yeah.
And our words are simply a vibration, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Which reminds me of so many things. I'm going to come to Carl's comment in just a second. But you were talking about like easy work. This fly really likes me.
Do you know that means abundance, darling?
You know what? I do feel it coming in. It's all going nicely. Like that. When it feels easy versus like treacle and it feels really, really hard. Like, yes, I know loads of people who grew up with parents who wanted their kids to be lawyers or doctors or whatever it was, and they worked their asses off. They worked, and they focused and they got there, and it took them a long time and a lot of mental discipline. And equally, I know that another way of doing things is just to follow your joy. And I know people that have followed their joy. They've just absolutely been switched on to what lights them up, like you were talking about lighting up a room. And they've gone to the top of their career really, really quickly in like weeks or like, you know, days, you know, like there are these people that have these lucky breaks, like break after break after break after break. For most of us, we might get 1 or 2, and immediately afterwards we feel like, oh my God, I was so lucky. That'll never happen again. We think it's like, but the people that are able to engage it again and again and again, they are literally following their joy and their bliss. And you know, they are testament to the fact that it can be easy. Carl saying the hero's journey of law of attraction, the call from ignorance, the awakening to wanting, the help from Abraham and The Secret, and loads of others now actually, but we used to listen to Abraham a lot. The realization that accepting might be less devastating than wanting, and repeat. I really like that. The realization that accepting what is and being joyful about it might be less devastating than the continued wanting. That, I think, is getting to the core of the sticking point, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. I love that because, it takes me back to the times where I had so much adversity, and it was on a spiritual level, which I later discovered and have dealt with. But there were massive spiritual reasons why law of attraction wasn't working for me. And I got to the point where I hated the word hope because it was like hoping was more painful than actually just surrendering to what is and accepting it. So yeah, that kind
hang on,
of...
one second. I have a feeling it's somebody's birthday today. If it's you and you're in the chat room, happy birthday. Just a
happy
thought.
birthday.
Is it your birthday today? I have a feeling it might be. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was Carl's? No.
No, I know Carl's. You know what, he would, well, he'd wish me happy birthday on my birthday. There it is. Thank you, beautiful. Yeah, it's Veronica's. Happy birthday, Veronica. I hope you have a lovely
happy
day.
birthday.
It's a very powerful day because it's on the day of the new moon.
Yeah.
So like this is a day to absolutely put out your beautiful intentions, Veronica. Really do.
And 13 is one of the numbers of love.
Okay, this is nice. So I choose to begin my birthday with our beautiful souls. Isn't that lovely? Thank you
love
so
that.
much.
Oh,
sorry, I
peaceful.
stopped you mid-flow there. So
I can't remember what I was saying. Can anyone else remember what I was saying?
Well, there's another like note that I put in for myself, and it was the track that we're on, because I realized that some things I've done really well at, other things I've been really pants at, and one thing I recognize is that people that believe that they get their needs met seem to just naturally do quite well. Thanks, love. It's Veronica's birthday.
Parabéns, querida.
Carl says parabéns, querida, which is happy birthday, darling. Yeah, so I noticed that people who appear to expect good things to happen to them and know they get their needs met easily and effortlessly just seem to not have any problems asking for what they'd like to receive. It really helps, doesn't it? Like if you're clear enough and you think your needs are going to get met, you're going to ask for them a lot more often. And because they've had their needs met like throughout their childhood, they're not so likely to get upset if they don't get met, because they just think, oh well, never mind. They're not it's not such a do or die situation. But I notice that people that really struggle, or that life sometimes takes a bit longer for them to get on an even keel, or for people probably like you and me that have had lots of sort of different incarnations in one lifetime, it would appear. I shouldn't talk for you, but I didn't grow up thinking I was going to get my needs met. I mean, my physical ones were met for sure, but my emotional ones and my need to feel like I fitted in, my need to feel like I was like really valued. I mean, my parents love me. I've got absolutely no qualms about that. I know my parents love me, but I didn't always feel like I was understood, and I didn't feel like my need, and it's very boo-hoo, isn't it? Like from a Western. Like, people could say, oh, shut up. There are people suffering all around the world. And you're saying, oh, I didn't get my needs met. But actually growing up, I really didn't feel like being understood or being seen for who I was, being appreciated exactly the way I was that important. And yet I know that when I used to ask, like, I never used to ask for things. I stopped asking for things because I didn't think I was going to get them realized. And I know people who are like younger kids, younger children tend to ask and get a lot more. So some people tend to find it easier. I've struggled. And one of the reasons is because I'm afraid to ask and I want to do everything on my own. And so I've just manifested more of doing everything on my own and struggling.
I think a majority of us are programmed in childhood to perceive, even if it wasn't the reality, but to perceive that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, that we're not deserving. And sometimes it's actually not the massive traumas, although it definitely is. But sometimes it's like the misunderstood stuff. As children and definitely up to age 7, we're just like these sponges soaking everything up. And each level, each moment creates a foundation for the rest of our life before we're at a stage of actually being able to interpret that information properly. So a 1-year-old can't interpret information as a 7-year-old. So they might be going through a various, some innocuous experience that doesn't seem very bad, but their interpretation of it or their understanding of it made them pigeonhole it in a place in their mind which was earmarked danger, right? Or, I'm not good enough. So then that becomes a foundation. And then upon that, more foundations and more experiences until you've got this really strong foundation, which is building you a life you don't want, filled with fear, filled with doubt, filled with constantly fearing rejection and abandonment, because that's how you interpreted that initial incident. And the thing is, each layer then informs the next layer, because we have the reticular activating system function of the brain, which is designed to, go and confirm your bias for you. So it seeks out all these instances to confirm to you that your original placement of that experience and your understanding of it as it related to you was in the right pigeonhole in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's why doing the inner work and facing our demons and asking ourselves, is it really true that? Right? Is so important.
I mean, those questions like, is it really true? What would you be without that thought? Those questions are phenomenal because they can really help shift you out of there. You're right. Like, once you believe that life is a certain way, your unconscious mind will just be out there trying to prove it to you continuously. So, in the way that I realized early on, or thought I'm not going to get my needs met, I stopped asking. I just stopped asking. But then the confirmation was, told you so. It's never going to happen. I have to do it on my own. But there are some people that grow up really feeling like their needs will be met, and they've absolutely no problem. And I think this brings up another issue with the law of attraction, and sometimes why it doesn't work. And that is, for those who have easy feelings about it, they're relaxed. Oh, if it happened, that's great. If it doesn't happen, that's also great, because they know that there's always something else that's good coming. But like, if you're asking for something and you're not used to having your needs met, or not feeling completely comfortable about it, or if it's a real sort of do or die situation, where you're going to feel so crushed you won't get up again, that level of intensity that you have is absolutely what's the word? And it's like the antithesis of the ease that you need to be able to work with the energy. It's got to be a flow. And of course, when you're that intense, I recognized when I split from my ex of 11 years, I made a bit of a pig's ear of it, really. It was like my first and hopefully only breakup. But I grieved about it for quite a while. And then after a while, I realized, well, actually what I was grieving about wasn't really him. It was more about a feeling of separation and that I wasn't good enough, like what you were talking about. Oh, I'm not good enough. And it was that whole, so really, when I grieved at the end of the relationship, it was all about everything that had happened before the relationship had even begun. It wasn't about him, actually. It was just about me and my sad story that I couldn't get over. And then, because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I'd set up this idea that nobody would want me. And I thought I was on the shelf, and so every flipping date I went on, I was like, ooh, I wanting to fast track it, and yeah. And it wasn't, you were talking about how you met people that just give up. That's actually the stage that I'd got to just before I met Carl. I've noticed that when I actually give up, that's the first real good step in the direction of achieving anything, is I have to
It's interesting, isn't it?
Give up my intensity and just allow the possibility that my greatest good might not include the thing I want. And it's almost like magic when that happens, when I say, do you know what? I'm letting go of this now. Boom, there it is.
Let's unpack that. What happens to the body when we surrender? Because that's essentially what we're doing. We're surrendering whatever it is that we want. We're like, what happens?
We become open to other things.
Don't you think like the anxiety reduces because we've let it go?
Yeah, we're not struggling anymore. I mean, it often accompanies, like, usually when I give up on something, before I feel the relief of giving up, I have a good old cry about it. And with me, I think me having a good old cry about something I'm not going to get is almost like letting go of an internal emotional, maybe a tantrum, like, why has it not happened? It should happen. It's like letting go of some of that anger and wild sadness that things haven't gone the way I wanted them. And then when I really have cried it out, then I'm just like, my whole body is sick of holding on to the weight of it, because like you're like tense, and you let it go, and body soft,
yeah. And we talked about flow earlier, didn't we? We talked about flow.
Yeah.
And manifesting, and all those people that have like got to where they wanted to go really easily and really fast.
Yeah.
Because there's a feeling of lightness. Like when you want something massive, it feels risky. And there's an anxiety that comes along with that, because then it automatically triggers, well, what if I don't get it? How will I be if I don't? And so we're already going down that negative road. So when we release it, when we say, oh, well, never mind, it wasn't for me. And especially if we go through the process of the tears, I always say the tears are healing, right? Yeah. And that is part of that process that I talked about earlier, about, doing the work, doing that inner shadow work, that inner child work. When we grieve for something, we are healing those emotions. We are moving to the next level, and we are raising our vibration. I talked about vibration earlier as well. We are raising our vibration. So when we release the anxiety, we release the fear of it not happening, because we get to a place where we're okay if it doesn't.
Yeah.
We are in an elevated state, and it's being in that elevated state and in that vibration where we can quickly magnetize those things to ourselves. They come in because we already started the manifestation long time ago. It was already ramping up. But the thing is it Abraham Hicks that talks about the train going up the hill? We can stop it. We can put it in reverse. We can send it off the tracks anytime we like, by what we do, think, and say and believe. And when we've given up, it's almost like taking all the weight off that train. Yeah. And then it can move faster.
I like that analogy. Yeah, I mean, as you were sharing that, I was just imagining, actually, all my good is right there, really right there, and I can't see it because of the intensity. But the moment I let all my guards down, boom, there it is. I just got to the stage where I really enjoyed sleeping in a double bed on my own.
I can so relate to that. I'm there at the moment.
And,
I'm like, oh,
yeah,
starfish.
yeah, I know. And actually, that's a really great place to be.
Mm.
Wow. Oh, luxury. I also recognize that I found it easier to manifest something really big and unbelievable than the tiny things that I know I should be able to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's true for everyone, because I imagine we all have our own little bit of coding around it. But for instance, years ago, I worked as a rep for Eurosites, which was part of the Air Tours group. So I was working as a campsite rep in France. I bloody loved it. It was a great job. My most free job I've ever had. I was wearing like shorts and a t-shirt, little sneakers, do a little bit of cleaning, welcome guests and throw parties for them. And it was just a really nice way of being nice to people and seeing when they're on holiday. And most of the time it was really good. And I was in the sun. I loved it. And I was away from home for the, first time in my life, really. And, that's evocative in itself. I did it for a few years. And I at one point I was working in, I had a boyfriend and he was working away. And so I went to work on a campsite for a French campsite owner, and I was working in his reception. And I just had this really random thought. I wonder what it'd be like to manage a whole campsite. And so, because I didn't have my boyfriend around, I said to the campsite owner, do you know what? I'd be really, really happy if you trained me how to manage your campsite. Because I've got all summer and I'd love to learn all the different aspects of like cleaning the pool, doing the site accounts, ordering drink and running the bar and the restaurant and this, that and the other. And he said, oh, okay. And then 2 days later, he hoiked me out of the reception and took me on a drive, which really for a 20-year-old, you should probably be a bit worried for a drive somewhere in the middle of nowhere. He drove me to this other campsite. I had no idea. He had 3 campsites. And he said, look, this campsite's not doing very well. Come and have a look. Let's walk around it. So I walked around this campsite with him and I said, oh my goodness, the bins are overflowing. That's not right. That's not right. If I was here, I'd be doing this, this, and this. I had no idea he was interviewing me for the job. So he then walks me back in, sacks the manager and says, right, get ready. This is yours now. And I was like, whoa. So like for like 2 days. So I had this kind of random thought, this sounds like fun. Didn't give a crap whether it happened or not. And then I was literally taken and given a campsite, which I managed for 2 years. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was a great challenge. So things like that I've manifested super easy. I remember years ago running the training of I did a maternity cover. And I was a trainer for years. And so I did a maternity cover for somebody as a training manager for a really large charity in London. And I really enjoyed it. And people kept saying to me, what are you going to do at the end of this maternity cover? And I said, I would just work for myself. I've got contracts and stuff. I didn't do any work whatsoever. But I just really felt that it was going to happen, even though I did nothing at all to make it happen. I really didn't. I don't know where my head was at, but I just thought, yeah, I can do it. And as my maternity cover came to an end, they said, we've really enjoyed everything you do. We'd like to be your first client. So I was like, get in. Brilliant. So they actually set up my first company for me, essentially. It all came to me. But it came from kind of far out thought, like, yeah, I'd like to do that. That sounds like fun. And then me doing nothing. It's almost like the moment I start running towards something, it starts running away.
When the stakes aren't high.
Yeah.
Right? When the stakes aren't high, you can feel the fun, which is the word that you mentioned. You can feel the flow.
Yeah.
You can, and one of the most powerful questions you can ask is, I wonder what, I wonder if, I wonder how, right? You're not saying I want, I have to have. The universe doesn't like grabby. The universe likes visionary, creative thought that plays. when we are playing, we have the potential to manifest the biggest opportunities for ourselves. When we are in the joy of that vision of creating, where it hasn't got any high stakes, that is when there's extreme power and things can happen like that.
Mhm. The right connections come at the right time in the right way.
Yeah, the universe can happen really, can make things happen really fast for us. We just have to get in the right mindset and the right position energetically. And then once we're in the right position energetically, we suddenly are, put in the company of, or the stratosphere of people, places, and things that can help that vision that we've
Yeah.
played with happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because Carl was recently in the company of somebody who I might get the story wrong, but the essence of it will be captured in what I share. He was in the company of somebody who was working in television and food stuff, and he got on a plane and thought, oh, I'd really like to do something really big, and was sat next to a massive investor. And by the end of the plane journey, this guy had invested in him, like, to do a new series of something that he'd wanted to do. So, like, life had just matched him up with the next nearest rich person ready to invest. It's incredible, isn't it? I'm going to read out some more of these comments. I love the expansiveness and the sort of like batshit craziness of this conversation.
It's always going to get batshit crazy when you got me on.
Yeah, it's great. Veronica's saying, I think negative emotions resonate and affect us so strongly that they have a very strong power. So be careful. Think about bad travel stories people share and bond over the bad. Yes, they do. But do you remember just the humdrum or basic good flights? But try the bad when you were stranded or sat on a runway and delays caused issues. Negative is strong, aka destroy the universe. Yeah, you're spot on there. We've got yeah, this is great. Misery loves company. It's another good everyday truism about the law of attraction. Yeah, I mean, you see it really proven there. Dougie is saying, lovely boy. I think that's to Solomon. Veronica's saying, thank you, beautiful. I think that's because, sorry, that was a terrible impression of you, Veronica. That's because of your birthday. I choose to begin my birthday with beautiful souls, which you shared. Thank you, ladies and Carl. Parabéns, querida Veronica. So everyone's just chatting to each other. Carl's laughing at my first world problems, but saying they are still problems, and that's true. Azrael Clark is saying, I have similar thoughts and struggles like you, Louisa. Now I find I am worthy and manifesting. Prayer helps. I now believe your needs and wants will be met. Do you know, I love that. That's another one of Azrael is somebody that works with you, right? Or is part of your community who you've brought to the table today. What I really like about this, they both mentioned, both Azrael and Sarah have mentioned the power of prayer. I know, like, when I was living in Bali and I was singing in mantra every day, which is like singing sacred words, my life changed so quickly. I really think anything intentional and vibrational really makes a difference. And Azrael's also saying positivity breeds positivity. Absolutely.
I love that you mentioned about singing, because that has a great impact on raising our vibration, because it stimulates the vagal nerve. So yeah, that definitely makes us feel like, when you sing something beautiful, and when your vagal nerve is stimulated, because you get the little goosebumps going on. And also when you listen to music that makes you feel like chanting often makes us feel that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. I absolutely I love the feeling of singing. So I never really sang in choirs as a kid, but when I was living in Bali, there were some really cool people. Actually, before I went, I saw that there was this festival going on, and I saw somebody play, and they were singing kirtan. It was the first time I'd ever seen like this roll and is it call and respond type music, where
yes,
sings a line and then everyone sings back and they sing another line. But actually, it's a bit like Kumbaya at scout camp and Girl Guide camp, but it was just done in a really beautiful way. And when I made a decision when I was like planning to go out there, when I get out there, I'm going to hook up with some of these guys and go to some of their sessions. And so I started to sing twice a week in a group. And there were a few times when I felt like a change going on in my body, and I felt breathless, and I felt like it almost felt like I was dying. But actually, these moments where I went blank, where I totally forgot where I was, what I was doing, and then kind of was back in my body. It was like there was a blankness. It was like I experienced something so deep, like such a deep shift in the singing and the singing of sacred words, and also in the company of others, that I had these moments of almost like forgetting who I was, and then and not knowing where I was, but then being back in my body. And that happened quite a lot when I was singing, just in general. So like almost moments where I disappeared for a while. But it wasn't in a horrible way or a messed up way. It was just, I don't know, like you stop identifying with yourself for a while, and then you come back.
I was just about to say, sounds like a level of letting go of attachment and ego and becoming in a state of non-attachment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was just through like chanting, and I don't really share that with many people, so it's interesting that I've chosen to share it live on screen. But you know, there'll be loads of people that have experienced that. Yeah, but and I think that's why I felt this feeling of almost slight anxiety as it was about to happen. You know, a bit like, you know, I mean, you've given birth, you know, like that moment of anxiety just before where you know you're going to be changed, and you have to be in the flow of it.
That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Ego.
Yeah, and you did say you felt like, did you say?
Yeah, like
I'm paraphrasing, felt like a death.
Yes, yeah. It felt
in effect, it probably was. It was like a mini ego death.
Yeah.
And singing can be so healing as well. I think our souls, you know, we're a body with a spirit, a spirit with a body rather. And when the spirit connects with music, if I feel an expansion outside of myself that is greater than it ordinarily is. And when we connect that spirit with personal singing, not just singing around us, but singing from the heart, I feel that the vibration that carries is extremely healing for ourselves, but also for other people. I was going back to my Christian days. I was in a congregation, and I knew the person in front of me was going through a horrific time, like marriage breakup and young kids, and she was, you know, not very stable at the time. And so I intentionally accessed a state of deciding that I would send loving intention through my voice to her. And I didn't know anything about healing apart from healing prayer at the time. But I just got this sense of that's what I needed to do. And I did that through the whole worship. And it was entirely focused on her, thought-wise. Like I wasn't staring her down or anything. I had my eyes closed, but I was focusing the energy on her. Yeah, I know, right? that could be a bit weird. And I didn't expect her to say anything about it. It was, you know, completely, what's the word, incognito. Wasn't about to go up to her and go, you know what I did. But afterwards, during the coffee stage, she sought me out. She said, I noticed you were behind me and your singing just made me feel so whatever. And then she had a big share, and that was my first moment of realizing, wow, it's not just about the prettiness of the voice, or, you know, it's about the resonance, because I was playing with the song as well. I wasn't singing the direct melody, and I was feeling a sense of needing to access the lower tones for her. So it wasn't like an angelic voice that I was singing with, you know. And that's not what she was saying either. She wasn't saying you have the most beautiful voice. She was saying your voice affected me. I could feel it work in my body. So yeah. Sound is incredible. Chanting, singing, all helps to raise the vibration, which in turn helps to raise your manifestations. Because if you're raising the energetic signature of your body, then you are more in line with what it is that you're trying to manifest in your life.
That's really beautiful what you shared about your new friend, I guess, from the congregation. Did you use your voice when you were birthing?
I absolutely did with my
Sorry, it's really, really personal.
second.
Sorry.
Oh God, you can get as personal as you like. Oh my God, the things that are out there on the internet about me being personal. Jeez, this is like a millionth of a personal rating. Yes, absolutely. With my first, oh God, I was petrified. I was also inhibited because I had my husband and my mum there. And it was very long and I was exhausted. So by the end, at the point where it was full on, I just had enough. So yeah, I think I was screaming rather than doing any kind of empowering sound. And there's a difference between volume and sound of empowerment. With the second one, because of that experience, and all hats off to them, they tried their best. It just didn't suit me to have people around. I decided to be on my own. And so I birthed my second son, Cody, entirely on my own. And I'd
wow, you Trojan.
Well, no, I had a nurse there, clearly.
Yeah.
I meant people I knew.
Yeah.
But to be fair, she was out more than in, I think, because she just saw me in my zone. I'd done a lot of like yoga. I'd done a lot of pregnancy yoga right up until the birth. So I was in the, I was doing the whole cat pose. And as I was doing that, I was doing I was doing a lot. I was using the breath. I was really like engaging with my uterus, like mentally. I was like, I'm opening, right? I was really using the power intention and the use of sound, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it intuitively. I was just making sounds that made me feel good. So it was very kind of guttural and long. And then there were pauses, and then it would be guttural and long and drawn out sounds. It was very like, oh, a bit like the om, actually. I think I was doing that naturally, but I wasn't saying om. I was just had my jaw like open and was just, I was, like a resonant, and my body became this resonance chamber, right? Which probably accounts for why Cody's so mad.
Well, actually, all three of ours are. But no, I was wondering if you'd have had a similar experience, because I was making a sound so low that I've never made, like, it's interesting that you said you were making this really low sound and it sort of came intuitively. I think that your heart, your soul, your body working together, it felt to me like the this is going to sound a bit far out, but it sounded to me like the sounds I was making were opening me up. Like it sound and vibration opens portals. I mean, essentially that's what, like, birthing a child is like bringing a child out through a portal.
We are a portal.
Yes, exactly. So it really feels like sound can open, and I don't know, that really kind of shocked me, the sounds coming out of me, but I don't think I could have done it without it. I know you can, because I know people that have birthed silently, but
yeah, my third birth was silent and the most painful. And at the point where, so second time around, I gave birth outside of the water on all fours with lots of sound. Third time around, I was a lot further along in my faith, walking with God and spirituality. And I was very much a Christian and a bit of a Bible basher, actually, I'm ashamed to say. But I knew my scripture. Oh God, I knew my scripture. I led women's group and everything at the time. I knew my scripture. And so, yeah, I went into this birth very much, once again, I had intended not to have anyone with me. But I went into, my husband couldn't take me because we didn't have a car. So I had to rely on a neighbor to take me. So she ended up staying because she kind of invited herself. And I said, yeah, okay. Stay.
Why not?
So I had her present plus the nurse. Anyway, in the end, it was great that I did have her, because we got to the registration area in the hospital, and I said to her, I haven't told many people this actually, only in private. I said to the registrant, I'm here to give birth. Sorry,
Yeah.
sweetie. What did you
Don't
say?
worry, just us.
Okay. So I said, look, I'm ready to come in. And she was like, no, you're not. I went, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And she went, no, you're not. I went, yeah, I really, really am. Right. Because I was contracting as I was talking.
And it's your third bloody child. They should flipping listen to you, when you're
No.
don't you?
She was trying her best to send me back home. She was like, come
You
back
weren't
in
making
10
any
hours.
noise, you weren't screaming.
Yeah, she said, come back in 10 hours. I looked at my friend and I went, and thank God she knew me really well. She was a member of the congregation and my friend. And she knew I wasn't pissing about. And I looked at her and I went, if you take me home, I will give birth in the car.
Yeah.
So I went, I'm in too much pain to talk. You have to carry on. You have to advocate for me because I can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not losing my power and starting to scream just so this woman believes me. Because I felt very much if I came out of that then I would feel more pain and then I wouldn't be in my body and be able to do the work that I knew I had to do. Anyway, so thankfully she advocated for me enough to get them to just check. So they took me in a side room and they checked and they were like, oh, yes. 7 centimeters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they were very apologetic.
I hope so.
And began running the water. And I got in my water bath and it was all great. The pain was much worse than the other two. It was really intense, but he was the biggest of the two and was struggling to get out. Anyway, at the last minute, I got this, they give you I don't know if you've ever had a water birth, but they give you this preamble. One. Yeah, they give you the preamble, right? Like, when I tell you to get out, if I tell you to get out, you will get out. And you're like, yeah, right? So there was a moment she was like, stand up now. And I was like, oh, fuck.
What?
This is it. Yeah. She was like, stand up. She was panicking. And I was like, okay, up I got, and I was big. I was like a whale. So it took me a minute. And I stood up and then like tried to push and he wasn't coming out and he was like trapped.
Oh.
So yeah, I can't remember. I think he came with his shoulders or something. There was some entrapment anyway. I was gone beyond this point, like la la land. I kept repeating what was a mantra, but it was a scripture in my head. I can do all things through God who strengthens me. That's what kept running all the time. I could do all things in God who strengthens me. And I was like in my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, I saw her reach for this red buzzer and I went, not today, no fucking way. And I went, ah, and he came out.
Wow.
Because I thought there is no way I'm going in surgery.
Yes.
But it was a sound, we keep talking about the sound, right? And we're supposed to be talking about manifestation, but I definitely manifested that healthy birth because I was like, no, I'm not going to be cut open. I'm not going to be the mother who's like struggling to feed her baby. I'd seen him on the wards with my 1 and 2. There was no way.
There's no bigger manifestation than pushing a baby out of your vagina.
Yeah, let's face it. You're right. I was thinking we've gone really off the point here, but no, we haven't.
No, but actually, no. So, I mean, we should probably wrap up soon.
I was just thinking that. How long have we been going? You and I could talk all freaking day, I'm sure.
So like the title was, I tried the law of attraction and it didn't work for me. Spirituality gone bad. Do you know, I mean, what you were talking about there is rationality gone bad as well. I know nurses are there to do the very best that they can and they're looking for signs all the time. But, when they're looking for these like minute signs, that kind of cross a box and tick this and that and the other, they miss out on the heart. And that's what really everyone should be connected into is the heart of the situation. We've got loads of comments coming in, so let's just go back. Azrael said, I'm Sarah Louisa, only changed my name on here. Sorry to confuse. That's fine. Do you know what? We were talking about how we lost, like when you sent that, it was so funny because I'd spoken about how I'd kind of had a little death in singing, and I'd kind of let go of my personality just as you were changing your name. It's fantastic. Very synchronistic.
Yeah.
Suze, good morning. Thanks for joining us, Suze. Veronica's saying, here's a brain twister. I love Veronica because she's always looking at things slightly differently. Did your campsite owner manifest a new manager and your connection to the universe picked up on it as something good for your path and you answered the call? Do you know what? I'll never know. I suspect, because it turned out that he was a bit of a dirty old man, I suspect the campsite owner was actually putting out a call out for a young woman to work closely with him, because he tried it on with me quite a few times. So I suspect that's the call he was putting out. And I heard that he needed help, but not that kind of help. But it's a really good, I actually think, a good manifestation is happening when there are 2, 3, 4 or more people all needing and wanting the same things. So you might be coming at it from a different place, but all of a sudden your needs can all be met in the same moment. And that makes me wonder. I wonder how many of us all had a need for today that was all met in this conversation. I'd love to know what, how it met you. I know in this conversation with Rosanna, it's met my need to reconnect to the whole idea of life and creation and just beauty and intention. So that's such a great question, Veronica. Thank you for that. Fam for Life is saying, before my spiritual journey, I was very negative from the conditioning I had. But now, as I'm on my journey, I am very light about things that would happen with the words of it is what it is. That's beautiful. I'm so pleased that's working for you.
Do you know, it is what it is. Those words have got me through the most horrific times of my life.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It is what it is. And then the other phrase I say quite a lot is, this too shall pass.
Oh, yes.
This will pass.
You took me back then, girl. You took me back.
They are very good tools, aren't they? Veronica's also saying, so you heard the vibe and the universe shared with you that this is something you'd be great at, and you listened and you took that seed, planted in you, and went and asked him about the option to learn. Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime we get one of these real sort of good feelings, we should follow them up for sure. I find music very healing. I find I prefer to meditate with music. Me too. I love that.
Same.
Susie's saying, I don't know nothing about birthing babies like Prissy, but your conversation is different from ones I've had about birth with friends. Thanks. Bless you, Suze. Do you know what? We're all here from our different perspectives and learning about things. But I imagine in your life, Suze, you've used sound and vibration and words in so many different ways to create the wonderful life that you've had. So yeah, thank you for listening in, even though, it might not be something you've directly experienced, but, seeing the beauty in it anyway. I really love that. And in actual fact, most women, when they talk about birthing babies, talk about the pain and awfulness of it. Whereas every one of my birthing stories, I speak of the beauty of it, because that's how it occurred to me. But I'm very lucky. I've had very easy births. So, but is that is that mindset? Who knows? And then Bob is saying, I had wanted to catch this live. Thankful for replays. Well, Bob, I hope this really makes you chuckle in places. And thanks for joining us anyway. Put your comments, after the show. Let us know how you found it. I'd love that. And then Veronica is saying, and if he was a dirty old man, then you being there and strong enough to fend him off may have protected another less strong young woman. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for, again, finding the positive, Veronica. Yeah, I wasn't about to get it on with that gout-ridden man. No way. Anyway, have you got a final thought for us today, Rosanna, before we go?
Yes. So one of the things that I'd like to say that we haven't covered, because it is a little bit confrontational, is that if you've tried all the above that we have discussed, then to put it in context, sometimes the law of attraction doesn't work for us, because there is a spiritual darkness at play on our lives, on our bloodlines, and that hexes do exist and all that kind of thing. So it could be something like that, worst case scenario. So don't give up. There are a few of us who deal with that. So yeah, keep moving forward and keep thinking positively. And if everything else is not working and you're raising your vibration and you're still struggling, then it could be something like that. So yeah.
I'm reminded of people that I know who have cleared themselves in so many different ways and have wanted to find themselves in a relationship, or who have wanted to have children, or who have cleared themselves when they were suffering from a really nasty illness and succumbed to it. With all of this, there are also, like you say, there are hexes and things like that. There are loads of mysteries as to why things don't happen as well. And I also think it's really important not to blame yourself or
absolutely,
because it really can be like you're being gaslit. Like, well, you obviously haven't tried hard enough. You obviously haven't cleared hard enough. You obviously need to do a bit more healing. I mean, when you look at most people in relationships, or most people that birth babies, or most people that get success and stuff, they're not all healed.
Yeah, and in fact, we're never healed fully. Not fully.
There's loads of really horrible people that meet their love of their life who really don't seem to deserve it. And for some reason, that seems to be just where they're going. That's where life is taking them. So, I would say it's really important to give yourself a break.
And I think one of the main things that I almost forgot to say, which I could smack myself, but thank God I realised. Remembered. Just after we said, don't blame yourself. I'm like, I'm going to smack myself. No, I love myself. But yeah, no, I think that, some of us have come into this incarnation on earth with intentions that, we promised ourselves a higher self is connected to that. And the more that we connect to our higher self, we discover why it is that there are times in our life where things hadn't gone the way we would have hoped and wanted them to go. And a part of that is that, we have learning and we have growth. And, a lot of the dark experiences that we go through actually crack us open to do the things that we were invested and wanted to do before we incarnated on this earth, and that our soul still strives to want to do, even though coming into this incarnation we forget, and then the process becomes a remembering, right? So a lot of the things that we go through when our manifestations don't work out are things that actually we were supposed to, or that we needed to, or it needed to be delayed because we needed to gain the wisdom and knowledge to do XYZ. I feel very strongly in my life as a starseed that a lot of what I went through, including childhood sexual abuse, had to happen to make me the person that I am today. So sometimes shit does happen, but it happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. So yeah, there's that at play as well, which is why it's always stuck with me that this particular spiritual person, sort of got into the kind of the prosperity blessings ethos of, well, you must have done something wrong, but maybe it's bad karma, or
that's so unhelpful.
Yeah.
It winds me up to do that.
And sometimes negative things that we perceive to be bad happen because they're supposed to open us to our destiny. And for some people, they have big destinies, and for other people, their destiny is, simply to be a mother and, home educate and live a 2.4 lifestyle. For other people, it's to become a CEO of a massive global corporation. I mean, there are lots of different destinies, but
we're
I think
all playing our part, aren't we?
We are, and as a light worker and a starseed, and there are many of us out there, we tend to have gone through more tumultuous experiences than other people, and we also tend to have experiences where we've been shamed for it in the spiritual community. And that's why I wanted to tag on Spirituality Gone Bad, to, you know, kind of speak to those that might be out there listening to this and feeling shame and guilt for not healing fast enough or doing this fast enough, and to remind themselves to have grace and mercy for themselves, and know that everything is working out for the good of those who have the desire to be expansive and good and connect to the good, whatever they deem that to be, whether they call it God or whatever. Just that source creation, that energy is an interplay. We are interplaying with that throughout our lives. And I believe that everything comes when it's supposed to, whether that be you manage to manifest it fast or it's happening slow. It will happen in divine timing. My personal opinion. I'm not dictating to anyone, but if anyone cares to know, that's what I think and feel.
It's really sweet of you how you put that on the end. Yeah, that's really sweet. Really, really lovely.
Good. Okay.
Right. Last comments then. Great job, ladies, from Carl upstairs. Veronica saying, thank you, lovely ladies, for making my new trip around the sun beginning the proper way, and for being you and going with the flow. Oh. Bob saying, religion didn't work for me. Struggle. Spirituality is such a release. My birthday wish is for all of you to have your manifesting hopes, wishes, and dreams to come true. Oh, bless you. That's really lovely.
Oh, love that.
I'd like,
and for you too.
yeah, definitely for you too. I imagine everyone's wishing that for you, Veronica. Definitely forgive yourself and for not knowing or understanding. That's a huge one, isn't it? Once you realize the rules of the game, I think you can take a lot of comfort and let yourself off the hook for sure. And then Bob is saying, American in Portugal, happy birthday. From your comments, I'm guessing you celebrate every day. Oh, I think she lives a very celebratory life. So anyway, on that bombshell, thank you so much, Rosanna, for joining us once again.
You're welcome. Love being here.
Oh, yeah, I loved having you here. I love these kind of girly chats that go all around. I love it.
All around the houses.
And thank you to everyone that's joined us live, and to those that like listen in replay. On Wednesday, just to recap, I've got Felix on, and we're having a bit of sort of creative fun in terms of how do we create an energetic blueprint for ourselves, and do we have one, and all that jazz. And then on Thursday, I'm talking to Donna and Jenny about what happens when you realize your life was a lie, and what happens next. So anyway, thanks once again. Have a fantastic rest of day, and hopefully we'll see you real soon. Lots of love.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.